welcome back to Third Shot Podcast. Another great episode in store for you all. But before we get into it, please head on over to our social media, Instagram and Facebook at Third Shot Podcast, or on X at Third Shot Pod. If you'd love to see us and watch us do our thing, then go to YouTube, Third Shot Podcast, and we'll be there and you can give a toast with us. So cheers.
Cheers. Cheers,
Third
Bridgie.
Shot Podcast.
This is going to sound really silly, but I was just
What?
watching our intro. Out of how many episodes are we at? Like 115 or something like that. Anyway, whatever.
Close to 120.
120. And I was watching our little thing, and there's this one piece of the open where you're hitting like at the kitchen line, you're nailing a ball, right?
Uh-huh.
Does it actually make a sound? Because I hear like, and I never heard it before until today. I'm like, do we hear sound on that besides the music?
I don't know. I'm going to have to pay more close attention next time, but the music does kind of have like pickleball sounds in it. So it's really tough to be able to differentiate like between the actual audio from the video and our music.
It would be so funny if the music times that beat right when you're hitting the ball.
Yeah, well, we've got an excellent producer, so I would not be surprised if he did that on purpose.
Shout out to Russ. He does an amazing job editing our shows and making sure none of our mistakes make it to the air.
Yeah, we miss Russ. Yeah, he's such a busy guy, though. Hopefully he's out there playing pickleball.
He's got so many things going on.
He does.
Right? And okay, so this is real with Russ. People that know Russ and listen to the show knows that he's kind of new to pickleball. Like when he started the podcast with us, he's a new pickleball player. And one of the problems that he had was unless he was going out with his son to play, he kind of felt uncomfortable about like where to go, like just paddling up, right? That whole thing. And I hear that a lot, right?
Yeah.
People that want to break into the game is like, I don't know anybody, but I want to play because it looks like it's so much fun. Right? Do you hear that?
I do, and I feel for them because I'm the same way. I would prefer especially if I'm going to a new location, to be with a buddy so that I'm there and I have a partner who can play with me. And I was just telling my sister that I would love for her to start playing so then I can have a built-in partner, because I feel like it's easier to get on a court when you already have a partner. I never want to be the third wheel and like throw people's rotations off because, oh, here's that girl who just showed up and wants to play. But I know everybody's so friendly. I think it's just, it's just a little insecurity thing that I have.
I think it's common though. Even though, yes, the pickleball community is super inviting and nobody's, actually, I shouldn't say nobody, because there are some people that don't want you to kind of interfere with, like you said, their rotation, or they got their own low set group and they don't want to let you in, which is, I get that. That is pretty common. But most people will let you in and invite you in, but it's tough to do that first step. And like what you were saying, especially when you're traveling, like I was just in Hawaii, right? Luckily, because of the show, I had connections in Hawaii that set me up with a game. But even with that, because my connection couldn't play because we got the concussion. Poor Tyler. Sorry out that, Tyler. Hope you feeling better out there. Anyway, it still is like I'm walking up. I'm going, hey, I'm Greg. I think somebody told you guys I might be coming, right? Like. It's still uncomfortable. So what do you think is for all the people that are just getting into it, like how do you get over that?
That is a really great question. And I think the answer really depends on the type of person that they are, because there are some people who really would not want to put themselves in that position because they want to avoid that discomfort of, meeting new people, potentially being told, no, you can't play with us, which, hurts my heart every time I hear that for anybody who's been in that situation. But I think really it's just kind of getting over that and putting yourself out there, finding at least one buddy who's on that court who can kind of help you learn the etiquette, because each court and each location has their own kind of set of rules, and it's not always posted on a nice little park sign. You kind of have to know somebody to be introduced and to learn it. And so it would be helpful to have a friendly person like Uncle Greg out there to kind of walk you through it, introduce you to some people so you can start feeling like you're welcome there as well. What do you think?
Well, it's kind of like with Chris Chu, who owns Boss Pickle. He just happened to show up at our pickleball courts here in San Ramon, and he didn't know anybody, and he came with his wife, and luckily he had a partner, but she was kind of like a little unsure about her level of play, but he wanted to get in. So we fit them both in, right? We fit them in different courts at times, and we had them play together at times. We separated them and had them play against each other at times. But you do kind of need that person. Like, luckily, I was there and I introduced myself, and we got it all situated. But if you didn't, it is pretty uncomfortable. It's once you find a group, it's easy.
Right.
But it's tough to find a group. Eddie Perez, right? He was on recently, and he was saying when he first started, he showed up and the ladies kind of showed him the way and got him introduced, and then he was going and he was looking for them. He was like, "Where are they? Where
Yeah,
are they?" Right?
that's great.
And then if they're not there, you feel uncomfortable again, right? It's as easy as pickleball is to get into and as exciting it is to get into, it is that little bit of breaking in that
Yes.
is a little bit of the challenge. But there are organizations out there that will help with this situation.
Yeah. Tell us more.
Well, we have Elena, who is the founder of the Recreational Pickleball Players Association, that helps in these types of situations, plus a whole lot more. Like the RPPA does a lot more than that. I can't wait for Elena to come on and explain all the things that the RPPA does. But one of the things is it helps new players kind of find their group, or travelers that are going to a new location and they want to, where do I play? Where are the courts? And maybe even, reach out to people on those courts before you get on a plane and fly out there. So anyway, RPPA does a fantastic job with that, and I can't wait to bring Elena on. Before we do, it gives everybody an opportunity to go onto our social media, Instagram, Facebook, X, look up Third Shot Podcast. Unless you're on X, then you got to do the Third Shot Pod thing. And then on YouTube, Third Shot Podcast, so you can again see our smiling faces, and you get to see Elena's smiling face when she comes on with us. And then don't forget, go to thirdshotpodcast.com. We got some merch, we got articles, we got blogs, we got what else we got? We got all our past episodes. What?
Apparel.
There you go. We got it
Fancy
all.
third shot apparel.
We
You
got
can
it.
match us on the court.
Ooh, that we could put together a full like MLP team of just Third Shot Podcast. Team Third Shot. There we go.
Yes. There you go.
All right. If you want to be on our team, go to our website, get some apparel. We'll hook up somewhere and play a match. So let's bring on Elena because she's got a lot of fun stuff to talk about. That looks like a nice glass of wine you're drinking
It
there.
is a nice glass of Chardonnay. The good Lord knew what she was doing when she had me not liking hard alcohol. So I'm gonna stick to my wine here.
Looks delicious. So start us off. Tell us how you got into pickleball and what sparked your idea to start this amazing app that you have to help out pickleball players.
Yeah, so I got in like a lot of people, during COVID. A woman I used to work with retired, and she's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Nothing. I'm coming over. I'm bringing my." So she came over. She had her lunch. She didn't offer me any of it. She had just like picked up lunch somewhere. Comes to my house, sits at the table, and she goes, "How come you're not playing pickleball?" I'm like, "I don't know. You need to come and play pickleball." And I'm like, "Okay." And that was, I guess, the fall of 2020. And
Wow.
yeah, and so just like a lot of people, I had with a business. I worked from home. Back then it was super successful because Facebook and Apple were getting along. And as advertisers, we were just like in pig heaven, even though Facebook is really creepy. As an advertiser, it's like gold. And so I would set my ads and then I would go out and play pickleball for 4 hours. And I would come back and there was the money and it was so good. And, and then what happens is you're like, wait a minute, your body's like, you were sitting at a desk for 10 hours. What are you doing to me?
That is so common, isn't it?
So common. Yeah. And I was an athlete as a kid and it still never occurred to me to, warm up and stretch. And so, yeah. And I've been in it ever since. I've been playing at the parks, and here in Pasadena, we have a great ambassador. We have we had great courts, but one of them was considered like, you don't go until you're pretty good. And so when that court said, hey, you could probably go to this park, I was like, yeah, I could go to that park. And
you made it.
Yeah. It wasn't any different except for Wednesday nights. There were some pros that played and they sort of bullied us off, but it was kind of fun to watch them. So it didn't matter too much. Yeah. And that's how it started. Just a friend, how it starts for many of us, just a friend dragging us out.
So what made you decide, hey, I need to create an app. I need to get this organization. Let's name it Recreational Pickleball Players Association, also known as the RPPA. Yeah. So what made you decide I need to do something like this?
So it was interesting because, Facebook and Apple did fight. The stores were dying. Things got different. They got hard. And I don't like, hard. I'm a hard worker, but I like it to see like results fast. Mm-hmm. And so I let that go for a little while, and I got a little sick. So I thought, I'm just going to start a newsletter because that would be fun about pickleball. And I started to look around at pickleball newsletters, and they were all about the pros and tournaments. And I play in a park where if we have a potluck, we'll have 50, 60, 80 people come through on a Saturday. And I promise you, back then and even now, to a certain extent, if you pulled them aside and said, I'll give you $100 to name a pro besides Ben Johns, you would have won the bet. We have no idea. And I'd had no idea. And I never really looked at the pros. I never played. The only 3 tournaments I played in the last 5 years, 2 of them were because someone's partner got sick. I think I've been to more baby showers than tournaments. And I thought, well, I'm going to start a fun newsletter. I'm going to start one with recipes and community stories about how it changes our lives. And it grew to 10,000 subscribers in 4 months.
Wow.
And I was
4 months. You did that in 4 months.
Yes. And I was just like, and I started writing them and saying, listen, I don't want to lick a gift horse in the mouth, but I'm not that exciting, am I? And they're like, you're the only one talking to rec players. And I'm like, that can't possibly be. And I just did this huge search this was like a year before I became an AI geek. The open AI wasn't out yet. And I couldn't find a single national site, website, newsletter, anything that was aimed at rec players. And I thought, that is insane. And, by now it's like 2024, I think when this is all happening. And, CIFA says 6 million people played pickleball in 2024. And that means like, that's insane that there was nothing for. And so I started surveying my audience, and they're like, I would say, how many times do you play a week? And, and they're like 57% said they played between 3 and 4 times a week. And of those, when I asked how many tournaments did you play, the majority answer was 0. Mm-hmm. Wow. And when I said, what is your rating? The majority answer was, I have no earthly idea. I don't like just saying yes or no. So it was like, I have no earthly idea. And so I thought, this is crazy. The pros are getting all this free gear. There's 75 different apps for finding a tournament, for finding a partner in a tournament. And it's like, well, where's the app for, happy hour? Where's the app for the potluck? Where's the app for the book club? We had all those things. And it was in a 600-person WhatsApp group. And I was just like, audio caption, Elena shooting herself in the head with her fake finger gun. It was insane. Like, and then Facebook groups, and half the people weren't on Facebook. And I'm like, no, there has to be a better way. And so I started the association, and apparently people like it because they all were clamoring for things in the website membership that I couldn't create, that I needed an app for. And so I bit the bullet and created the app.
I love that story because, Uncle Greg and I have talked about this before on our podcast, but recreational players is what's carrying the sport and growing the sport. And that's where all of the magic happens, I think. So to be able to have something for those great people out there doing such fun things and community focused events, I think is fantastic. So for our listeners, to tell them a little bit more about this app and what they can expect if they're a part of the association.
Yeah, so I tried to say, we're basically trying to build like the social network of pickleball. So it's a place for rec players to belong and tournament players to come home to, right? Because of the 80 or so players, there's about 20 that are diehard tournament players, and I'm going to get up on every soapbox I possibly can and make this statement. It is a 100% false dichotomy that there are recreational players and there are competitive players. Recreational players are some of the most competitive people you'll ever meet in your life. There are recreational people and there are tournament focused people. And I want that to be the new way we refer to it, because the number one thing in all my surveys, we want to improve and we want to make sure we don't get hurt. And we want to stay injury free. And that's when I started the Fit Pickler. Elena's holding up her logo of a pickle weightlifting a bar with pickleballs. This one doesn't glow in the dark, but some of them do. And that was sort of it. I was like, I wanted to just really address their concerns. At that time, I didn't even think like, oh, there's a way to monetize it. So the app, we have a players directory. So it's like Instagram in that sense. You can meet and DM other players. We have unlimited groups. So if you're in a court like I have, where some people are drilling in the morning, but the time has to change because there's one that's shared with the basketball court, you can have a drill court. And then the next group can be movie night. And the next group can be, I need friends for a tournament that's coming up, a local tournament. We have the only vendor directory that's direct to consumers. That's the other thing I was blown away by. There was not a whole vendor directory of, hey, you want to buy pickleball gear or gifts for pickleball people? Come to this place and see all these sales. And so the idea was, and then we have training and fitness videos. We have an events calendar, so you can put up any event to the public if you want, and you can do it nationwide. You don't have to pay. We have a court finder and we have a coach finder. And we have a round robin creation thing. So you can get rid of that crazy Excel sheet stuff. And we're just adding, this is like breaking news on the Third Shot podcast. We're adding a news feed. So I'm holding up for the people who are watching online, just a homepage. It's going to be where you sign in to the app. And then there's a news feed like Facebook. So we're trying to kind of be a little bit of everything. We want to be Netflix with our videos. We want to be Instagram with our connection and our DMs. We want to be Facebook only with our newsfeed, not with a bunch of ads and creepy algorithm. And we want to be Costco with our buyers club, because what we're saying to the vendors is join us, be a part of the town square, have a relationship with the people that you sell to. And when you create the deals and discounts on our site, 100% that every single person on the site plays pickleball. So you're not gambling dollars on Facebook ads. So the money that you would have spent on an ad, give us that in a discount. And I will say the vendors have been really receptive. They think it's a great idea. And so that's the idea behind it, to sort of just create like a social hub where we can, claim back, we strengthen our communities and then connect our communities. And one of the best features, I say for last, is we have a RPPA travel, which is our own exclusive travel booking site, where you can save up to 50% on hotels, cars, and rentals, even over some of the most well-known sites you've heard of, which I'm not allowed to say, hotels.com, because you're behind an association. So there's a lot more of us. And almost everything is free. The premium things are the travel site and the training videos, because I do have to pay for those. And even those are only $25 a year for players.
That's
and
nothing.
Nothing. When I was in Vegas 2 months ago, I was telling Bridgie this. A friend of mine joined me at a hotel, a big hotel, a name hotel, and it was $400 on another site and $234 on ours. So it's a power. It's the power of numbers. It really is the power of numbers.
Yeah. So do you have members all over the world? Are they mostly in the US?
Right now it's US. Our intention is to go all over the world, but I am a solopreneur. And, I am paying all the dev costs. So if anyone out there is looking to sponsor, looking to invest, Elena, Saris, I'm on LinkedIn. But yeah, eventually I do. And I've talked to people from Germany. I've talked to people from Malaysia, the Philippines, China, Rwanda, who are like, can we get in there? I'm like, eventually, yes, but let me get the ground stable and then I'll build.
If this means anything to you, I was just looking at our stats of this podcast. And over 10% of the people that listen to this podcast are in Canada.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah. I think that would be a lot easier. I think for now, certainly I'm because I was an e-commerce seller, I'm cognizant of the fact that the shipping rates to these countries for the vendors are going to be different.
Mhm.
And up until maybe 7 months ago, I would have thought Canada would be easy.
Yeah.
Let's just leave it at that. So, but yeah, I mean, there's obviously you could absolutely join from Canada and North America. But if you're looking, you're not going to find as many people with you in Canada, is what I'm saying. But and so what I love is, 100 apps do court finding and things like that. And it's one thing to like type in a zip code and say, oh, I'm coming to Kansas City for PickleCon, right? I'm going there. And I was like, I want to play this thing. Where's the park? And the park will say beginner friendly and lights or whatever and the hours. But to be able to like look on our site and type in Kansas City and, women or 3.5 or over 60, and just to be able to message them and say, hey, I know it says beginner, but let's say I'm 75. Is it going to be cool? Like you have a connection. You're like, hey, what time are you going to get there? It's just a little bit of more of an entree into like a community.
Yeah. In our intro, Uncle and I were talking about how tough it can be for players at times, especially when they're traveling to other places and going to new courts that they're not familiar with. And that barrier of, like, I don't know anybody. Am I going to be accepted onto the court? Are
Yeah.
they going to let me play with them? And so I really do think that this app does something great where it breaks down those barriers and kind of puts people in direct contact with those other players who can make that a little bit easier for them.
Thank you. And that means a lot because that's what we were aiming for. And then for clubs, I mean, like I said, I'm really cognizant of making the vendors happy because I want them to stay and I want them to give us discounts. And if you're a club and your communication is on a tournament building app, then you're missing out on, the book club I want to host that I may take to the Buffalo Wild Wings or the happy hour. And whereas if your people are all on this app, we're going to get along. We're going to come in groups to your club. We're going to have our events at your eatery, and we're going to be a lot less inclined to leave. I mean, I'm from the generation where our parents were the country club ladies, not my parents because they were older and we were poor, but my friends' parents. and they went to the tennis club. They went to the country club and they played tennis and they had lunch.
Mhm.
And it's funny, this is part of that competition thing again. When people say, oh, isn't pickleball a drinking game? It's like, the ladies who lunched at the country club, yes, they enjoyed as the men do on the 19th hole, their alcohol,
Mhm.
but it
Mhm.
wouldn't be the same without the competition, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're grown women. They could have just gone to a damn bar in the afternoon.
Yeah.
I mean, they went because of the camaraderie and that sort of adrenaline rush of competition.
I have friends that play and drink at the same time. I don't know how they do it.
I don't either.
I can't. I can't do it. I don't want to get nailed in the face. Like I want to be able to react quick enough to get that paddle up there, at least defend myself and just
Yeah.
not get
Yeah.
nailed.
For me, I might do it just to have an excuse, but
Well, I've tried. Trust me, I tried because my friends are doing it, and I'm going, okay, yeah, I'll have one, and then I go, oh my gosh, I'm a mess out here. I can't. And the other thing is, like, I don't want to fall on my face either, right? It's
right.
bad
Well,
enough.
yeah,
Sober,
right,
staying on 2 feet, but
exactly. Yeah.
I
That's
have to
funny.
ask though with the app because if I were single, I would probably use the app to meet people of
Love
the
that you
opposite
said
sex and
love it.
probably, yeah, I would, it's better. I don't know. I would want to meet another pickleball player.
I'm with you.
Similar interests.
Here's how with you I am. My last meeting with my developer, which by the way was at 3:30 last night, or this morning, I should say this morning. For reals. We have a thing that says, when you fill out your profile, it says, your name, your location, your rating. I think we have a thing that says, are you an ambassador? And I think we still have one that says, are you a referee? Because some people were telling me they were looking for referees. And I just got a phone call from someone who does a single site. And I have been asked several times, can we just put a little, and we are going to implement this. This is was going to be a post PickleCon announcement, but here you guys are getting breaking news. It's going to say something, I don't know the language yet, single, married looking, something like that. It's going to have it. And right now we have a lot of, can I say, we have a lot, I was surprised because most of the joiners usually and first adopter things are women, but we have a lot of older men. And you can tell by their profile pictures that's what they're, because Do you remember the old sitcoms that used to have like a start? Most sitcoms don't have a start anymore. And it'd be somebody just, mowing the lawn, and then they'd turn and look at the camera and go,
Yes,
and I'm just, for
right.
those listening, I'm just stopping what I'm doing and pausing and looking right at the camera and smiling. And you can see these men are like, oh yeah, that's their Match.com picture for sure.
Well, see, for yours, I would have a pickleball paddle in one hand and a little kitty cat, right? Because cats, right?
Oh,
Everybody loves the cats, right? You got a
yeah.
cat in the other hand, cuddle, paddle up. Oh my
That's
gosh.
hilarious.
Uncle Greg, I'm really impressed at the thought you've put into this. I feel very, yeah, I
Yeah.
may let you be the honorary first person that gets to put their profile picture into. Look, I don't know. Are you
I'm
single and looking?
I'm happily married, but
Oh,
I can still be the model. I have no problem.
definitely be the model. And then the secondary picture will be you and your wife and the cat in the paddle.
Yes, yes. And that'll be the before and the after. Like I started with this, and then after, look, I got married.
That's right. And then the FCC will come after me because they'll see this podcast and realize it's a false review. I love it. No, I really would hope that would be good. We did a story in this week's upcoming Fit Pickler about a dating app in Colorado, and they're happening all over the place. It's hard. It's hard to meet people and make friends when you're an adult. If you don't meet them in college, if you don't meet them at work, and after a certain time at work, the people that are going to meet each other have met each other and they're married and they got kids, and it becomes difficult.
Yeah.
So
So I do have a question about this because it's all very exciting. And for people who are listening who might not be interested in the dating piece of it, but just adding friends, is that an option where you can kind of like how Facebook is, you add them to your friend group so then you have your kind of
yeah,
core set of people you communicate with?
yes, you absolutely can. You can absolutely favor people that are in there individually, and then you could create a group of friends. So, for instance, you go on a cruise, and everybody comes from all over the country, and
Oh,
you want to
cool.
get together after, and somebody says, "I don't like WhatsApp. I'm not on Facebook," and you can have January Cabo cruise, and yeah, so you can have unlimited numbers of groups. You can create them of your friends, and then you can also have your own little core of friends.
Oh,
And any
awesome.
event that you create, you can share pictures and photographs. That's the other thing. There's a guy who takes pictures at the park sometimes, and he wants to put them on Facebook, and the people aren't Facebook don't. It's like, oh, you look so good in that picture, and like, oh, I'm not on Facebook. So they could put it on just on their profile, so you don't see it unless you come to their profile. They could put it in just a regular URL and send you personally, hey, Greg, I got this great shot of you. I hope you like it. They could put it in a group that's like, oh, the McDonald Park, and they can put it in that, or they can just say it's open to the public. And the same with events, but the events have their own public calendar. So I have a friend who does great work for USA Pickleball in Palm Springs, and she's got to pay to tell people about an organized round robin. And it's like, well, you're not allowed to make money as a USAP person. So why are you having to pay out of pocket?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense, huh?
Yeah. And a lot of times when she charges, it's only to get a gym because it's 175 degrees out in Palm Springs. And so they're just covering the rent, right? But yeah, she has to spend money on these apps. And I'm like, no, that's not going to happen anymore. We're going to be able to have our own, especially charities. Any charities that are listening out there, you don't have to be a member. Send me your thing and I will put it on our calendar. And our calendar is searchable by city and event.
That's so
That's
awesome.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That just makes it so easy for everybody.
That's my hope. That's my
Yeah.
hope.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, I think you've done it. I think it's already there.
Yeah. No, it's
Uh,
just getting the word out that it's there, right? Because that's what it
well,
takes.
now you're on Third Job Podcast. I mean, the word's out.
My work here is done. Yeah. No, I know. I'm going to be like, it's going to be a before and after in my life when I write my memoir. There was that day on July 28th. I'm going to remember. I hope so. I hope so.
We will do our best to make that happen. You mentioned the newsletter, Fit Pickler. Talk a
Yeah.
little bit about the newsletter and how that is kind of an extension, or maybe actually it started before the app, but
Yeah.
talk
So
a little bit about that.
a separate but related entity. They're the people that really said this is what we need. And so we have like a drills article, that teaches you some shot or some strategy. We have a health article about, just maintaining hydration, things like that sort of. And we have a fitness video, fitness and injury prevention. So we have a person that does that. We have a coach who happens to be, she was a very highly ranked pickleball player back in the day before the pros. And she happens to be my high school softball coach who got a hold of me and said, hey,
Wow.
yeah.
Small world.
Yeah, so she mainly just sort of breaks down YouTube videos, but it's really helpful. And then we curate other news, and then people send us local news. In that we have a section called the Rally Rundown. So if something's happening in your community, you can send us a little thing, a blurb on it, and we'll link out to it. And so it could be anything from community news. We just did a great, really heartfelt story about a fellow who I think he was an Air Force veteran that had a lot of medical issues and just overcame them with pickleball. We've done a lot of stories about pickleball in jail, which is close to my heart because I started as a criminal defense lawyer. And, whatever you think about crime and criminals, they get out eventually, many of them. And wouldn't it be nice to have something that has socialized them to working with others and developing relationships and solving problems, before they hit your courts? And then, we have recipes and humor and sometimes fashion, things like that.
When you said that, the prisoner and in jails was dear to your heart, I was like, oh, she was just in jail.
I was just in jail. I've been to a lot of jails.
You just got out, and
I've
like
been
you're
to
on
a
the show
lot of
already. My
jails.
goodness, wow.
Yeah, actually, I just got word today that our application is finally in the final stages for a nonprofit that I'm starting called Forward Dinking. And the goal behind it is going to be reentry in all its forms, whether that's from the military, whether that's coming back from, alcoholism into sobriety, or coming out of jail, just starting over with your social world, and I think that's what pickleball does. The sociality of sports in general has just faded. I mean, there was that book Bowling Alone, and think about that book that came out well before social media. And we used to have bridge clubs. We used to have a higher church, population. We used to have bowling leagues, and they're few and far between now. And I think pickleball has got a really good chance to solve that.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And you're doing so many amazing things for people who may want to submit something to your newsletter, because I love that people can submit stories
Oh yeah.
from their own community. So that's pretty cool. Tell our listeners how they can go ahead and do one of those submissions.
They can just email Ellie at thefitpicklerNewsletter.com, or they can reply to the newsletter if they're already a subscriber. And if you're a member of RPPA, you can also just message me on that. I get a lot of messages on RPPA from individual members. And that's the thing about, the reason I decided to combine fitness and pickleball is, we're of a certain age where if we get hurt and we can't play pickleball, it's a bummer, right? But there was a man at our park who was, in his late 70s, and he got hurt during COVID, and he was a widow. And that was it. That was his social life. It was gone like that. I mean, it was every part of his social life. And I remember I was pretty early to that. This was the good part that I had to wait to, graduate to. And there were 3 or 4 women, and I was coming, they were leaving. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe you guys are leaving. They're like, oh, we're going to go take, I'll call him Sam. That's not his name. We're going to go take Sam lunch. And they set up a little table outside to social distance, and they brought him lunch. And they started to do that almost every Saturday. And now he's beyond playing years, but he comes and he sits and he watches. And he used to be an incredible tennis player. So if the courts are slow, he'll come out on the court and sit in his walker and help people with their backhand from the baseline, and just sort of coach them. And it's a place where he belongs. And so when you get hurt, that's taken away from you. And that's a lot worse than, oh man, this sucks. I got to do X, Y, and Z instead of pickleball,
Yeah, the whole injury thing is something that we've had a lot of conversation about, because I've dealt with my own little injuries here and there, my little nagging pains from playing pickleball. And we've had trainers on, we've had different apps on that kind of help you with your fitness. There's so much out there, and I think it's so important. But what you said earlier is like, people don't stretch. When you think about like going out at the beginning, when you're just learning how to play, you just like want to get out there and just go start hitting, right? And just the education that, gosh, if you just spend a few minutes, really just 5 minutes before you actually get on the court and just do a few things, it could save you from months of rehab. Because you got injured on the court. So I'm glad that you're focusing on the health side.
Yeah, and maybe don't play 5 hours your first day.
It's hard not to, though.
I know, and you don't think about it till the next day where you like can't get out of bed and you're like, I didn't know I even had a muscle there. Why is that sore?
Right.
Bridgie taught me how to play, and the first time she took me out, I was hooked. I didn't want to get off the courts, but luckily we're in Las Vegas, so it was probably 150 degrees,
Yeah,
so
that
we had
helps.
to get off the courts. But I probably would have been that guy. I didn't stretch or nothing. I just went out and played, and I wanted to be out there forever. I didn't want to leave.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, I had an injury that had nothing to do with pickleball. But it was devastating. I was like, what am I going to do now in the, in the weekend? And so I'm like, I know, I'll start a business. That was a great idea. Like, it
It
And
was.
it
Look
was
what
a
you
great
got
idea.
now.
was a
This
great
is
idea.
amazing.
But I'm so busy now. I can only play like once or twice a week.
Yeah.
But I'll say
But
another thing about the whole like competitive aspect that we were sort of touching on. When that fellow Sam, I call him, was playing with us, I mean, that man had a backhand. I mean, from the baseline, holy cow! It left a mark when it hit me one time from
oh
baseline
god.
to baseline. And if you're in a tournament, that's who you're going to target, right? Because he can't run to dinks. And if you're playing and you dink on Sam, that doesn't make you competitive. Makes you a jerk, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a competitiveness about the fact that you're giving this other person a chance, that you want it to be a competitive game, that you want it to be, where's the fun in dinking on someone that's not mobile? And they're like, oh, that's rec play. They're just in it for fun. No, we're trying to make it, something that is a competitive, event.
Yeah.
Very
I,
true.
I, I gotta tell you this story. I was playing rec the other day, and the sun was just brutal in one corner of the court. It was just brutal. It's just rec play. They kept hitting it into that corner over and over and over
Oh,
again, where you can barely see the ball. And I'm like, what are you guys doing?
how about
Like,
the lobs in the sun when they lob
right.
and you're facing?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind when newer player that I was playing against a very experienced guy, and I had been away for a while. And I said, look, I haven't been here in like 4 weeks, 5 weeks. And he just kept like lobbing in the sun to me. I'm like, does that make you feel good? Like, we waited 40 minutes for this game. Like, I'm not gonna run and go and get it. I'm not gonna look up at the sun. Like, at some point, why are we even doing this? Especially when you wait in between games, you think, and I'm not saying take it easy on me, just don't be a jerk.
Right.
You
Make it
know?
fair.
I don't mind if you slam it I'd rather have you body slam it to me and so that I can have a fair chance than, hitting it up in the sun on a lob. It made no sense to me. Yeah.
That's
So,
true.
but yeah, so I think it's interesting. And I think there's another thing happening right now, which is there's so much focus on the pros and so much focus on tournaments and so much of, from a branding perspective, businesses wanting to get away from it being an old person sport. And
Mm.
I'm like, you are ignoring that to your detriment. You are really ignoring the over 50 crowd because we might be getting more 24s and 25-year-olds into this sport. And I think the average age is now down to 41. But try advertising a $300 paddle to a 24-year-old. Good luck with that.
That's true. They're not the ones buying.
Yeah. So I think, if any business owners are out there, there's, hundreds of thousands of people who are beginners of all ages coming into this sport every day, and they don't care what paddle the pros use. In fact, if you tell them the pro uses that paddle, you'll probably turn them off because they'll think, oh, that's not for me. So it's just from a marketing, coming from the background. After I was an attorney, I was a marketer. I just see all these crazy errors, just wanting this sport to be something it's not yet, wanting it to be, and I'm not sure, I don't know if this is unpopular. I'm not sure it's ever going to be. I'm not sure it's ever going to be a mainstream channel for, network news, network TV. I'm not sure. Then again, I saw on ESPN a pillow fight on the TV the other day. Pillow fights. I was like, wait, what? For real? And they were grown men and they were hitting the heck out of each other. You've seen this. Greg is laughing. You've seen this.
I have seen it.
It's his favorite sport besides pickleball.
Yeah, I got really injured one day when I was doing that, but so I had to retire from my
Wait,
yeah, my
wait,
pillow
more
fighting
than 7
career.
years old? Wait,
Yeah.
help me out here. I mean, I don't know. There was curling. I mean, okay, I get, curling's in the Olympics. There was
Where does cornhole fall in this?
cornholes in there.
Okay.
Ultimate frisbee.
Yes.
Yeah, those are in there, and I mean, God love them. I'm not dissing them or anything, but racquetball was very big when I was in high school. I've never
Mhm.
seen a televised racquetball game.
That's true.
Uh, and I don't know. I don't know. I'm just saying, no matter what, I used to say you don't get pros without the parks. And I think that was true for a long time. Now we have the clubs and the clinics and all that, but that's never going away. It's
Yeah.
never going away. No matter how successful the pros get, no matter how successful all these tournaments get, the parks are never going away. And that sense of community is never going away. And I want to just make sure that we get to celebrate it and the people within it get to reap the benefits of making the sport what it was. We're the heart and soul. I mean, the sport didn't get here without that.
Right.
And I
And your
appreciate you
app
saying that.
helps that too. Yeah.
Say again? I'm sorry, Bridget, I didn't hear you.
Oh, I was saying, and your app helps with that
Oh,
too,
yeah,
putting
yeah,
people in contact with each other, making them feel like they have a place within the sport.
yeah.
And Uncle also said something great too.
I was just saying that I appreciate that point of view because when Bridgie and I started this podcast, like you were saying, it was just pros, right? I mean, that was the only podcast that were really out there at the time when
Yeah.
we started it, 3 years ago now. That it was just pros talking about the pro game and stuff like that, but it wasn't the everyday player, which is the heart and soul of the sport. And that's why we kind of have the topics that we have, and we have
I
great
love that
people like
too.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. This is a great podcast. When I was just introduced not too long ago, but then I went back and listened to a lot of your older episodes, and they're fun. They're a hoot. They have great topics, and they're a hoot. And you're giving voice to some small businesses, which is nice. I saw you do some things with some smaller companies, and that's great. I love doing that.
Thank you.
Kudos.
Yeah.
Kudos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
kudos
we
to
need to
you.
make sure that you give a proper shout out to your app. So for our listeners who are probably now interested in becoming a part of this association, where can they go to get more information?
Yeah,
to join?
easiest way in the world, rppa.org. And and the reason we're an org is because I wanted to be an association so we could get that travel benefit. So Recreational Pickleball Players Association, rppa.org. We're on Google and we're on Apple, and you can find those. Also, just search RPPA Pickleball on your App Store or Google Play Store. But if you just want to jump on right now, and we're still, like I said, we're just $25 a year if you want the premium, and if you just want all the other features I mentioned, it's completely free. Completely free.
Very cool. And the newsletter?
The newsletter, the fitpickler.newsletter.com. And I'm so proud of that newsletter. We have a 70% open rate. I mean, that's insane.
That is insane.
And a lot of people say, well, that's a vanity metrics. It might be bots. Okay, we have an 8 to 9% click-through rate, which is, for those out there, that the standard click-through is 2 to 3%, and the standard open rate is like 30%. So these are people who engage, they reply, they're just fun. When I say, hey, I need info on you guys so that we can bring you more things you like, we had almost more responses to our survey when I had 10,000 people than the one I just read from Pickleheads and USA Pickleball.
For you.
Yeah, we had like 1,000 and they had like 985, and I'm going to guess they're a little bigger than me. Yeah, something in the neighborhood of hundreds of thousands of people more than me, but because you know what? They want to be heard. I mean, everybody wants to be heard. That's it. They want to be seen, and they want to be heard. And I'm giving them an opportunity to do that. And not only that, I'm listening to what they're saying and trying to build what they want. So yeah. So
Very
join
cool.
us. Come home to the RPPA.
Well, let's toast the RPPA.
Let's toast the RPPA. Thank you.
Congratulations on all your success and what you've built and the future for the RPPA.
The future. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
It's so much fun. I am jealous because the two of you got together when you were recently in Las Vegas and I wasn't in town.
Well, I'm going to be in Vegas a lot, so we'll call you and we'll give you an opportunity. I won't have the pool table room, but we can play pickleball. We can hang out.
I'm sure we can find a pool table somewhere. And we can find a good bottle of Chardonnay somewhere. We can find a pickleball court somewhere. We're going to have a great time.
Yeah, great. No, I'd love it. It'd be great. Anytime. And if there's ever anything I can do for you guys, let me know. I'm happy to support you and promote you. I love what you're doing as well.
Oh, we appreciate that. Thank you
All
so
right.
much. Yeah.
Thank you guys.
And thank you for all of you listening, for joining us for Third Shot Podcast. Bridget and I will continue to share our pickleball journey together. Real special thanks to Elena. What she's doing with the RPPA is fantastic. I really encourage everybody to go to the website. Again, it's rppa.org. It is a .org, not a .com. So go check that out. They're also on Instagram. I don't think we mentioned Instagram, RPPA_org. And there's so many different ways that you can reach out to Elena. I highly encourage you to do that. The newsletter, Fit Pickler newsletter, also wonderful content. Yeah, you can always support our show by subscribing, and we promise to have more amazing guests just like Elena on future episodes of Third Shot Podcast. Let's continue to share our enjoyment for the game and grow this pickleball community together. See you next time on Third Shot Podcast.